Hello, how are you all? And welcome to episode 2 of Mentoring Monday. And I'm really happy to be talking to you again today. So today what we're going to look at is things around the concept of reputation and things that affect reputation, such as defamation, copyright, and when we lose it online. So my name's Fiona Lucas. I am the founder of I Respect Online. I'm also author and founder of Future Proof Your Kids. I'm a social media educator and strategist working in the online reputation space. And I'm absolutely passionate about helping people to understand the online world better, to look after their reputations better, and to make the online environment far more inclusive and safe. Now, just some housekeeping is that hopefully my signal's been a bit funny today, so hopefully you're hearing me. Hello to those who have joined. You can leave comments below and I'll do my best to try to capture them. Now, the other thing is that you can also follow me anytime so that you receive notifications when we are online. So the first thing that I need to do is my disclaimer. Okay, so the disclaimer is important just because I'm not a legal person. These are just general instructions to help you navigate the online space. So if you're in a difficult situation, you need actual legal advice, please make sure that you head over and find that advice from a lawyer or solicitor, because it really all I can offer you is general information that can help you to navigate. So let's talk defamation and staying nice. It's actually a really grey area, because how do we engage with people in an honest way? And occasionally, just like in life, people will get upset with us. Now, I apologise for having to have these glasses, which are reflecting, by the way, because otherwise I can't actually see what the comments are. So when it comes to the online world, I'm sure most of us have come across a time when we've either been in a group, or maybe it's been on one of our own pages or our profile, or a community group where something's gone wrong in the online situation. Somebody said something and the reaction to it has not been good. And unfortunately, people try to take things into their own hands often, and they kind of forget some of their manners when it comes to online. I always say one of the best things to do is to think about how, if it was the situation where it was reversed and it was you on the other side, how would you like someone to engage with you? Because it is really very much all about respect in the online space and keeping our calm and making sure that we don't overreact when it comes to a situation online. Now, something some people may not be aware, particularly if you manage a group, is that a very grey area is around the responsibility for what goes on your group. So firstly, it's really, really important to have an outline in your group, some directions that allow your group community to understand how they're supposed to behave on there and what the consequences will be if they breach those conditions of your group. In some cases and in different states, it's always different. So as I said, it's a very grey area, but it is possible for people to actually be held responsible for some things that have gone on online, and particularly if it relates around things like vilification or abuse of somebody. And in particular, when people get a little bit vigilante and actually go and start heading out to right or wrong. And this is where it can go very wrong and backfire on you, because sometimes we get it wrong. And even though we're upset about something, what we needed to do was stop, take some time out, walk away and think about what the issue is before we come back. Now, what you don't want to do is name and shame, and that was one of my other topics. Let me see. That's what we don't want to do, name and shame. And the reason we don't want to name and shame is because we can create more harm than was originally out there in the first place. And on top of that, we can cause harm to ourselves, and it's the way we look in the online world. So you have to think about how you're being perceived if you start to react and respond in a negative way online or attack somebody. And the worst is if you name and shame and you've got it wrong and somebody else picks up that name, and that often happens in a group, or friends will get behind whoever feels wrong and they will band together and start attacking this person and sending them messages. And sometimes it's completely and utterly so badly out of proportion that we cause so much harm, and we actually can damage somebody else's career or reputation, when really if we stood back and thought about what the issue was, it may not have been such a bad thing. And what it can do is reflect on you. If your employer or somebody that matters to you sees you engaging in that way online, it can really reflect, and particularly if you're in a business, it can reflect terribly badly and actually affect your business as well. So it's something that we really need to be very considerate of when it comes to the way we're engaging. When it comes to bullies and trolls, there's different ways we can deal with bullies and trolls. If you're in a business situation and you have somebody either complaining, acting like a bully, or being like a trolling you certainly doesn't help to acknowledge their view, but don't get angry about it. Just say, I understand that you've got a different feeling about this, but I don't want to engage anymore in this way, and you're welcome to take it offline if it's actually a discussion that could be had. Or you're free to let them know that you are going to have to remove them from the group or the conversation. Now, an area where this can be different is when we're talking about bullying in a personal space with somebody who's very vulnerable. Engaging with a bully when you're in that situation, particularly a young person or somebody who is going through some issues at the time and might be more sensitive than normal, it is much better to walk away and not to engage. And if you see that going on and you can see that somebody's responding badly, then a little message to give them a little bit of support and say, hey, walk away, it's not worth it, is a really good way to go. It's just something that you need to think about. And again, this particularly matters when you're in a business situation on your page or in a group where you need to take a reasonable measure to actually supervise and look at what's going on. Now, I was trying to see if I'm looking on my computer, but it's not actually letting me see the live, which is a shame. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was copyright. And this is another area where people get very confused. Now, copyright was never set up in order to deny the rest of us the use of, pieces of work. It was actually designed to encourage people to create work, but to offer them some protection. So that's the number one thing we have to think about when it comes to copyright. Now, copyright does vary across different countries, and where the United States has a Fair Use Act, the situation in Australia and some of the other countries is absolutely not quite the same. And what we have is a fair dealing. Now, fair dealing is similar but not the same, so it gets quite confusing in that there's gaps between our situation and that of the US. So often we're using United States products, so we might be looking at those and saying, and that's globally. I know a lot of my UK friends and certainly my colleagues in Australia, we all use sites from the US, and so we're often probably reading their copyright conditions, but we do have to make sure that we're aware of any differences that may be in the way it's applied in Australia. So the Creative Commons agreements are one of the ways that we can use content online. And it's important to look at that and look at the different rules. So I'll have to read the four of them because I do forget. So we have the non-commercial license, which lets you copy, distribute, perform or display for non-commercial use. Now that's really important if you're in a business, Because if you're in a business, it is commercial use. So you do need to make sure that you apply and pay for the relevant licenses. If it's a non-derivative work, it means you can't actually change or adapt that work. And if it's a share alike, it allows you to remix or rebuild, but it's under the same license as the original post. So you've got to make sure the original work is still credited. And you can't be both share alike and non-derivative at the same time. In Australia, we're governed by version 4, international, and so it's important to be aware of when it comes to free images, and particularly apps that might offer you free images, that you do need to check the status of those images. And if they're under a Creative Commons, which says it's for non-commercial use, and you want to use those images for commercial use, then you really need to make sure you check the licensing out, and you may need to purchase the images in order to use them. So it's something that's really important. One of the other things that I've been noticing lately has been around the use of YouTube. And because Facebook has been all about native content, and they want you to upload everything to them, there's been a bit of a spate of people actually downloading YouTube videos and then uploading them natively to Facebook. And the problem with this is that you didn't own that content. So when you're uploading it, you could be in breach of the copyright because you're no longer attaching that video to the original source. So it's something to be really, really aware of. Now, this is particularly for business. It doesn't really affect us so much if we're just sharing a video around personally that's got no commercial use applied to it. But at the same time, it is really, really important that you do check whether that YouTube video has got any statements around copyright on it. And again, if you're a business, please don't upload it directly unless it's your own. If it's your own content, you can do what you like with it. And you may want to make sure that you make a comment around the type of created content that you want to allow there as well. So I don't know if anyone, I know there's been a few viewers popping in and out there, if anyone's got any questions that they would like to ask me about any of these issues online. I think what's really important is that we try to take the time to remember that it is our reputations in the end that we wear for every bit of behaviour that we have online. So, you know, we've all had rants. I have rants at times too. But I'm also very careful never to point the finger, you know, at a particular individual or risk it, because, you know, what got my back up that day could have been because of a whole lot of different things happening. Just like most of us will have good days and bad days when we've just gone, oh, everything's gone wrong today, and that one little thing just, you lose it. So it's important, if you do lose it, to think about where you are when you're losing it. And I see it in groups often where people are very... they have very high, you know, they're very opinionated. Hey, I'm pretty opinionated myself. But it's important that we look at whether we're giving an opinion or actually stating a fact, and doing maybe a bit of research before we plant our foot in the middle of a discussion. And then also that we then are respectful for other people's point of view, because not everyone is going to have the same point of view. And you know, in a world where we are increasingly bringing these matters into the online space and making our complaints in the online space, it's important that we still do it as respectfully as we would as if we walked into a store to say, hey, I need to return this. Let's just try to keep it more respectful, and to remember that we need to control the way we're feeling, especially when we're upset. So the first thing you've got to do if you're upset is don't write anything. Take a breather, go have a cup of tea or whatever you need to have that makes you feel a bit better. Think about what the issue was and then come back to it. Because if you do that, quite often your opinion will have changed. If you give yourself even just, 15, 20 minutes, you can really find that your whole mood may have changed. And you might even want to, ring a friend or talk on the side to someone, and they'll give you another perspective on that problem before you jump in there. So I guess the bottom line is, let's not jump to conclusions when we see something written online and assume we're being attacked, or that someone's being rude to us when they might just be trying to offer advice or put their point of view across. And maybe they don't do it as well. Not everyone has got, you know, we've all got different ways that we use the online language. And so some people won't have perhaps the literacy skills of another, so it may be harder for them to get their point across. And we also don't know what's going on the other side of the screen for them. So if we try to be more respectful of where they might be coming from and a little bit more understanding, we can often eliminate a lot of the issues that go on online. So I guess I'm winding up because we're at our 15-minute mark, and I try to wind up around those. Thank you for the viewers that have been there. As I say, you're welcome to leave me comments. They're not popping up at the moment, but if you want to leave a comment when this is posted as well, I'm happy to come back and excuse me, and answer those. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.